I'd like you to consider as we read chapter 30 is character development. How has Bradley changed in our book so far? Remember how it was at the beginning? Constantly telling lies. Yeah, one after. It's like he didn't even know the difference between the truth and a lie. Or good or bad even, yeah. Do you think now he's starting to realize? Yeah. Not only is he starting to realize the difference, but he's working on making that difference for himself. So we're going to find evidence in chapter 30 that he's doing this. Eli.
It's like he knows people, like what people think of him, but he's trying to change what they think of him, so he'll actually get like people to like him, because Jeff was like the only one.
Remember at the beginning, before we even started reading the book, we talked about the word reputation. Do you remember what that word means? It's from a long time ago. We talked about reputation at the beginning of the year. How many of you feel like you're not sure what reputation is? How many of you feel good about reputation? If you talk about it, you could use it in a sentence. Okay, that's pretty good. So, do you feel like when you walked in this classroom that first night of open house and you saw name tags all around you, you made these judgment calls about people who were sitting around you, whether you're going to have to work hard to not talk with them, whether you're going to get in trouble with those students, or whether you were excited to be sitting near them? Do you remember going through those emotions? And that was based on their what? Reputation, how you got to know them and how they were seen by others. So do you think it's easy to change your reputation? It's sort of hard to do. Once you're known for something, you have to work extra hard to change people's opinion. Once you're trustworthy, people can pretty much feel like they'll rely on you. But you don't have that trust, you have to work hard to build it. Do you think Carla has trust in Bradley?
Yes.
Yes. But Carla also knew his reputation. She knew all those things those teachers had told her. Did she listen to them? No, because she wanted to formulate her own opinion, right? And really, it doesn't seem like Carla is the kind of person who would judge you anyway. She wants to let your actions speak for themselves and give you new and fresh starts. Okay, so everyone, go ahead and put the brakes on what you were doing. Our Reader's Theater is up on Dojo, and you'll be able to see each other's videos now that I've finished recording. And let's help each other out. What page is chapter 30 on?
118.
Okay, hopefully I'll get finished before we have to switch classes. Okay, so we're all on page 118. I'm waiting for a few more of you to get with me. Bradley remained in his seat after everyone else had gone out to recess. He walked to Mrs. Ebble's desk. She was sorting papers. Mrs. Ebble, he said timidly, may I use the hall pass? I have to see the counselor. She looked up. Please? Normally, Mrs. Ebble would never allow Bradley Chalkers loose in the halls, but something about the way he asked must have changed her mind. All right, Bradley, she said, and then she caught herself. But if you are bad, you will never be allowed in the halls of this school again. So now it even seems like Mrs. Ebbles is starting to change her mind a little bit. She's giving him a little bit more freedom, right? And it was also because of the way he sounded. I think he sounded probably pretty desperate. Thank you. He took the hall pass off the hook behind her desk, and he headed out the door. You're welcome, Mrs. Ebbles said to herself. He knocked on the door to Carla's office. How nice to see you here today, Bradley, she greeted him. I appreciate you coming to see me. He shook her hand, and then they sat around the round table. She was wearing the shirt with squiggles on it. It was the one she wore the first time he saw her. He liked it, but not as much as the one with mice. I did my homework last night, he said. Carla beamed. I'm so proud of... I ripped it up. What? I ripped it up. I brought it to school, and I was just about to put it on Mrs. Ebble's desk, but then I ripped it up. Why did... Carla started to ask. Why did I rip it up? He asked her first. I don't know. I don't know. Why did you? He shrugged. She shrugged, and they both giggled. I was afraid you'd be mad, Bradley said when he stopped giggling. Carla shook her head. You did your homework. That's the important thing. I'm so very proud of you, Bradley Chalkers. Oh, I'm going to do all my homework from now on, he promised. That's wonderful. But what if I keep ripping it up? Well, why would you want to do that? I don't know. I didn't think I wanted to rip it up today. Well, the main thing is that you did it. Didn't you? Well, and you learned some things by doing it, didn't you? I learned what of means. Right here. What of means? Carla repeated. Times, said Bradley. She stared at him, baffled. Oh, right, she said, as it all suddenly connected to her. Okay, so even though you ripped up your homework, you still remember what you learned. You didn't rip up your memory. And when Mrs. Ebel gives the next arithmetic test, you'll know how to answer the questions. If they don't change the rules. What rules? Like, what if they decide to make of mean subtraction? Oh, they won't change the rules, Carla assured him. Whoever they are. See that word? Did you hear I said it? Why did I say it like that? So I stressed it. Whoever they are, like she's not even sure who they are, but she's stressing whoever they are. Well, what if I rip up my test too? He asked. Carla looked at him as if he was being silly. Has Mrs. Ebel ever given you any homework? Has Mrs. Ebel given you any homework for tomorrow? Tomorrow's Saturday. Okay, for Monday. No, we never have homework over the weekend. He spoke like an expert, like he had been doing his homework for years. But we have a book report due next week, only what? Well, I don't have a book. And Mrs. Wilcock won't let me check out any from the library. Well, let's see, said Carla. Do you think you might know somebody else who might let you borrow a book? Keep your finger there so I know you're with me, sweetie. Think hard now. Bradley looked around at all the books in her office. Well, maybe I can borrow one of yours? He asked. Please, I won't scribble in it. Carla walked around the table and then picked out a book from the stack on top of one of her bookcases. It's my favorite, she said as she gave it to Bradley. He read the title and laughed. My Parents Didn't Steal an Elephant by Uriah C. Lasso. He opened to page 1 and he read the first sentence. I hate tomato juice. See where we are? Top of the page, 121. And it's little tiny writing, so whenever they quote the book, you'll see the smaller writing in it. It's indented much further over in the text. So it's smaller and indented. Is everyone with me? And what is the first line of the book, everybody?
I hate tomato juice.
He thought that was a funny sentence to start a book, and he continued reading. Every morning, Aunt Ruth gives me a glass of tomato juice. Every morning I tell her I hate it. Fine, Dumpling, she always says. Don't drink it. She calls me Dumpling. Uncle Boris calls me Cornflake. They're crazy. One of these days, I'm afraid they're going to try to eat me. He glanced up at Carla, and then he returned to the book. Okay, so now we're reading out of the book again. My parents are in jail. They got arrested for stealing an elephant from the circus, only they didn't do it. If they stole an elephant, I'd know about it, wouldn't I? I mean, if your parents stole an elephant, don't you think you'd know about it? I didn't think the elephant just ran away. Her master was always mean to her. He whipped her, and he made her do stupid tricks. My parents used to complain about that a lot. That's why everybody thinks they stole her. So anyway, that's why I have to live with my crazy Aunt Ruth and Uncle Boris. If you ask me, they belong in a circus. They're crazy. Uncle Boris always smokes cigars. It just hangs out of the corner of his mouth. Whenever he kisses my aunt, he swings the cigar out of the way with his tongue, and he kisses her out of the side of his mouth. I bet you think Aunt Ruth doesn't like it when he kisses her that way. Wrong. She always laughs when he does it. Sometimes she smokes cigars too. I told you, they were crazy. Look, he even smokes a cigar while he's drinking tomato juice. The bell rang. Bradley was amazed by how quickly the time had passed. Do you want to have lunch again tomorrow? He asked. I'm sorry. I'm having lunch with the president of the school board. I'd much rather eat lunch with you. He didn't mind too much. At least he had her book to read. So they shook hands. See, some more character transformations, right? They shook hands. Then he walked back to class. He placed the hall pass back on the hook and took his seat. He knew he'd write a good book report because he had such a good book to read. I just hope I don't rip it up. I'm going to tell you, there's a little hint of something that's going to happen in the end of this chapter, and we call those little hints, literary hints, we call those foreshadowing. It's kind of like your shadow sometimes says you're coming when your shadow's ahead of you. Foreshadowing is a literary term that indicates something will happen. Kind of like a premonition of something, Hannah?
Well, maybe she said she's having lunch with the school board.
Perfect. She's having lunch with the school board. Does anyone have any ideas what you think that could indicate? Can you infer what that means if she's having to have lunch with the school board? Yes.
She may get fired.
She may get fired. Good prediction. What were you going to say?
So this means she might start losing her job.
Possibly lose her job? Addison.
I was gonna say she might have to talk to her about Brad.
Maybe explain to her, the school board, what she's doing with Bradley? Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah.
What about getting an award? Maybe it's to give her an award. Emily, what do you think?
She might talk about her progress with Bradley.
Possibly the progress that she's making with Bradley.
Colleen's not supposed to talk to her.
Colleen wasn't supposed to talk to her, and did Colleen go to talk to her anyway? At one point she did, yes.
Like Bradley might get mad at Carla for telling them about what they talked about.
Ooh,
She said she wouldn't tell anybody.
maybe they'll meet and she'll tell them what they talked about. Last one, Rory.
He might get a new role at the school.
Maybe they'll change positions for her. Instead of being a counselor, they'll have her maybe be a second grade teacher or a fifth grade teacher. Okay.